Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free at AAA.com/commanders. Hello, babies. How are you all today? Happy Monday. This is not a hey, babies. This is a hello, babies day. Wow. You know, Callow, if you told me on Friday we were going to score 27 points down there, because that's what I was worried about, was where are we going to get the points from with so many people missing on offense? I would have said we're going to win. And so I'm surprised we're sitting here today that the defense got as gashed as it did against the Falcons. I'm not surprised they're 2-2. The whole year has been, I'm not surprised by the record, actually. I'm surprised by how we've gotten to all of these games. Every week has been a surprise to me.
If you would have told me Jaden was going to miss 2 games, and they were going to be at 500, I would say that sounds about right. So that's where I kind of land. If you want to, use my phrase of zooming out on a season, that sounds about okay. But, I'm sure we're going to really get into it. But I think the most concerning thing was this offense keeps this team in the game with their backup quarterback, 2 wide receivers down, injuries elsewhere. And it's the defense that honestly needed one stop with 8.5 minutes left.
Yes.
And couldn't get that stop. And if the game salts away, that's a real bad sign for a defense that, too, is relatively healthy. I'm not saying they're perfectly healthy, but has all the pieces that, were thrown out there in week 1. Super concerning about how the defense got gashed by an Atlanta offense that was shut out last week.
I just, every week has been a surprise. The week 1 win was about as close to where I thought it might go. The defense was going to have to play well. The offense was kind of slow starting. I didn't really expect a ton out of them early. I didn't know what we were going to get because of the way camp went. And they won going away, but they won running the ball going away. And with the by committee situation, it was hard to know what is the run game going to look like. And it was gangbusters in week 1 against the Giants, which made sense with that pass rush. That's the only one that's gone to form. The Green Bay game, again, they got gashed on defense. I thought they'd have a hard time moving the ball because of the way Green Bay looked, just changed overnight for them. But I thought they would have a hard time moving the ball, but I didn't think they would get just cut and diced the way that Green Bay kind of diced them that night. The Raiders game, I was like, if we win 16-15, I'm happy. But they won going away and was by far their most dominant performance in all 3 phases. But they won. So again, it was a surprise. They won in a way I didn't expect them to win. And then yesterday really took the cake because Atlanta's offense was beyond struggling. I look at their parts too, and I go, they're not playing to their potential. You have those types of level of players, Bijan, who might be the best running back in the NFL, Pitts, who somebody's going to unlock him sooner or later. He's just too good of an athlete. London's a very good number 1 receiver. The supporting cast is good enough. Their line is good. I thought Penix would be good. It's crazy that their offensive numbers were as bad as they were the first few weeks of the season. And the last 2 weeks, they'd scored 1 touchdown. They're coming off a shutout, which is hard. That's hard to do in the NFL. Struggling, put a $30 million backup quarterback in handcuffs. So it's weird. The whole vibe is weird around them. And to come out and perform to that level really says a lot more about our defense than I think says about them, because they're the ones that had to figure out what in the world is going on in their house. And they got right. And considering how many people were missing, considering I don't like playing teams that just got embarrassed. I don't like we just got embarrassed and then turned around and killed the Raiders. I don't like playing teams like that. Still, the outcome is problematic because I did not expect them to flip a switch and become the Lions overnight, which is what they were against us yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were concerned, midweek to late week last week, where we were going, there's so much talent on this offense. It's almost like, how do you not expect them to break out at some point what they're doing? But the way that they
how
did
are
it,
you bad with that group of people? That's your talent is too good to be bad.
Exactly. But I don't think either of us expected the defense to basically not be able to get a stop all day yesterday. That's where I was really kind of just distraught, because that defensive line, once again, was playing pretty well. The pressure was up again, but the corners couldn't cover yesterday. And so Penix was finding the open man. And as we mentioned, they have all these offensive weapons. He was finding them fairly easy. And then kind of the worst part was he was finding them easily on third down for these huge chunk plays. And you know how it goes in this league. It's a backbreaker when that happens. It's hard to stop a team when you know that kind of the backbreaking play is coming on third down. So it was just kind of a brutal day for the defense as far as I'm concerned. If you would have told me, too, that they were going to score 27, backup quarterback, 2 wide receivers out, like I said, other injuries, I would have said, okay, they're going to have a chance at the end of the game. And they should have had a chance at the end of the game. But the defense, once again, and this goes back to last year, where they can't finish out games. You know, they keep giving up these really brutal plays at the end of games. Now, last year, there were some times where you know, there was enough time left on the clock and Jaden was able to get you a last second score. Well, Jaden wasn't walking through that door yesterday, and you had given up so many points that it became a 2-possession game and it was essentially over by the time you had to give the ball back to them again.
It's really, this one's as encouraging as that Raiders win was. This is really, really discouraging. I mean, like, I'll get to the other side of the ball, which Cliff has earned his money this year. This offense has figured out a way to score a lot of points no matter who's playing, which is a very, really, really good sign of buttoned up operation on that side of the ball. I'm surprised here, like they don't have their Micah Parsons. They're going to need one of the corners to step up and be a lockdown player. So I still see like there's upgrades in the roster that are coming down the road. Like you can't fix everything. And there's upgrades that are coming down the road. But I thought that they were better across the board than this. And what they showed in camp looked like, I think you're going to be surprised at how effective their defense can actually be. But the big point of it was, I think they trust their corners so much to be more aggressive. And yesterday was a really bad sign. Like they had a hard time staying in coverage. They keep talking about communication issues on the back end. In fairness, they were down 2 safeties yesterday. Will Harris went on IR. Percy Butler did not play after he got injured a week ago. His doesn't seem that serious. Harris is going to be out for a couple of months. Still, while Jeremy Reeves isn't their first choice, Jeremy Reeves had a great camp. Made 3 or 4 terrific plays yesterday. They're lauding his experience and all this stuff. So I do wonder, how is Joe Witt going to explain the quote unquote communication issues that continue to happen with the secondary? Because I thought it was going to be their strength this year. I am surprised that it is not. And especially yesterday, it was not.
Well, and I kind of talked about it last week too. The safety position, like the drop off to the next guy, isn't like, your starting quarterback to your backup quarterback. It's not like this was a position that they were having all pros back there anyways. And the guys that they have there are professionals, right? And so I'm not really looking at that excuse at all. And yeah, like Joe Witt Jr., I think his press conference is going to be an interesting one this week, because this is one where I think the media is going to have to press him. He was already getting pressed a little bit the last couple of weeks, and luckily he got a win last week, so that helps him a touch. But this is one where he's going to get some tough questions here, because I just don't see the excuse. And I get it, some of the personnel is a little bit older, but they mostly are going in with the the pieces that they had in training camp, minus the safeties essentially. Other than that, there's not an excuse of how they played yesterday.
No, and listen, week by week, it's early to start talking about rankings, but they've gotten worse in the rankings each of the weeks. And I'm going to assume they went down again because they gave up over 400 and something yards and they gave up 34 points. So both in the scoring metric and the total yard metric, and the total yard metric is what gives you an overall rank. And that's how they call. If you get the 20th ranked defense, it's because you've given up the 20th most yards. That's what total defense means. And then you can break it down from there. But they went from, after the Giants, because they only gave up 6 points and whatever yardage, 5th. Then they went into the teens after the Green Bay game. Then they went down to 20, actually, after the Raiders game, even as much as they kind of boat raced them. I believe they're going to be below that off of the numbers that they put. So we're going to be a quarter way into the season, and they're going to be ranked somewhere in the bottom third of the league in defense. That's just not going to cut it. And especially with an offense that, if you're going to be missing the amount of players that you have and the reasonable expectations you can have on everybody else to kind of pick up the slack, which they more than did yesterday, actually, the defense needs to be held accountable here. I mean, they're the ones that are going to have to be better. Like, I I don't look at their roster and go top 5. I don't look at anything like that. But 23rd is not going to cut it. And also in an NFC that's so deep is really not going to cut it. So I don't know what the answers are, but I think squarely blame's the wrong word. The focus and attention of what needs to improve and fast, considering Herbert and the Chargers, Caleb and the Bears are scoring points now. Dallas just put up 40 last night. Mahomes after that. Lions coming. Like Vikings, we'll see. I don't know what the Vikings are going to be. That's hard to know right now. But those 5 have turned into very high-scoring teams. They better figure this out fast or things are going to spiral on them no matter what the offense does.
No, and it's also, I think it's indicative, too, of what some of the quarterbacks that they played, too, right? Like, you look at the 2 veteran quarterbacks that they played, like real veteran quarterbacks in terms of Russ and then playing Geno. They both also not as mobile as they used to be, kind of folded and didn't want to make the mistakes, right? So this defense thrived off them. Then you go to the 2 younger quarterbacks they played, Jordan Love and Michael Penix. I know Love isn't super young, but you know what I'm getting at here. He's younger, can move a little bit. Both of those guys were able to kind of just move around a little bit and find the open guy. It's becoming very apparent that if you just actually kind of get yourself situated after that first pass rush comes at you, you can find the open guy. Like, I'm seeing the formula here right in front of our eyes. If you decide just not to fold, you'll be okay and you can run your offense essentially. And all the quarterbacks you just named should be able to do that. And that's what I'm really worried about here, because they should be able to kind of take advantage of this defense the way that it's situated at this moment in time.
I mean, I've watched a little bit of the Chargers. I haven't watched a ton of them, but I mean, I watched their film of the Raiders game because we got ready to play the Raiders. And I will say this about them. I think, and this one will worry me this week. Harbaugh's a very conservative coach. He doesn't want to turn the ball over. They want to run the ball more, even though they have this quarterback. And now they have a connection I think they've been waiting for with Johnston. He's kind of really emerged. And I'll watch a lot more this week. But I do think that, like, at their core, Harbaugh's very conservative, wants to be a very physical team. Well, now that they've lost what appears to be both tackles, I have a feeling, and watching the film of us, I think they're going to let it fly this weekend. And that's what would make me very concerned that, like, okay, this is what happened against the last couple of teams. What are we going to do when it's Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, that quarterback? Can we get enough pressure to kind of to alter the openings? Because right now it's hard to trust the back end, and they're getting gash yards. And, it's like one thing when one guy has a big game, that's going to happen. Like we saw it with Saquon through the years and against Philadelphia. Okay, so he had a big game. A.J. Brown, every once in a while has a big game on us. Okay, fine. It's one guy. It was all of them yesterday, actually. It was all of them. Penix had a career high, and this is off of, he had a dwindling completion percentage 3 weeks in a row to the point where they benched him in a game against a team that's 1-3, right? Benched him in a game that's 1-3 because they lost 30-0. Completion percentage went out every week. This week, career high numbers. Bijan, I said last week, if you hold this guy under 80 yards, you've won. He got 180, 180. So that's the complete, utter polar opposite of it. You had nothing for him at all. Passing game, rushing game, career high yardage for scrimmage yardage for a game, 181. Drake London had over 100 yards. He was averaging 53 a game, had no touchdowns. He doubled that and had a score. And even Pitts became somewhat uncoverable for them. It was all of them. Like Algier ended up with 50-something yards, rushing 2 and a touchdown. It was all of them. So it wasn't like, well, how do you stop Bijan Robinson? Nobody can do it. That's not a solution here, and it's not an excuse because it was all of them yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I actually hated the most about yesterday, because I think all of us were pretty much saying, hey, like, Bijan's probably going to get his, right? He's probably going to get a certain amount of yards because he's that damn good. Well, they didn't stop him at all.
You can't stop him. Like, he's among, if he's not the best running back in the NFL, he's there in the conversation. You can't. That's why I said if you hold him to 80, you've done a really good job. Like, you're not stopping somebody like that. But 180 is unacceptable.
Right. And it wasn't even like they stopped him, though, and then dared the other people to beat him. Everybody beat them. That's what I actually hated about it. You didn't even tee off on one of those players. They all had, career days, as you just mentioned. Like, who were you trying to stop at that point? I've got questions of what the hell the game plan was if you weren't even trying to tee off on any of these guys. Now, I get it. There were a couple of times where, they teed off on Bijan and they got him for some losses and some no gains. But there were also some times where they should have actually gotten him and tackled him. And then he broke off these big runs too. And that's going to happen with the player like that. For me, it was everyone else where it was like, how are you leaving some of these guys wide open all of a sudden? What was your plan actually going into this game?
Yeah, and it would have been really, really striking if the final score was 34-10, because the way the offense was totally beat up, like you could kind of like get the feeling that if they had a big offensive day, it could go that way. That's not what happened. So I'll go back to something I said earlier. 27 yesterday wasn't going to be good enough. I mean, what did you actually expect out of them? Like, I got to tell you, like, Cliff has done an unbelievable job the last couple of weeks. That was the number one pass defense they were playing yesterday. They had 100 and whatever yards again rushing the ball. I'll get to that in a second, because it's the one thing that really stood out and keeps standing out here in the first month is how effective they are running the ball, no matter what changes they make. Mariota, again, one real bad decision with the interception in the end zone. It was the first time in 2 weeks I'd say he had a bad decision. I know he had a fumble in the first game. That wasn't a bad decision. He just ball security. It was one bad decision. Other than that, he was terrific with the ball again. 27's not good enough. I mean, that's the other thing that really stands out here. If they had lost 34-10, I think you can go, well, everything was wrong. No, not exactly. Offense with half of its starting unit, two of its top three receivers. Big changes on the offensive line again. They're asking for people who are either young, inexperienced, or whatever to step up. Backup quarterback. They put up 27 on the road and against the number one rated pass defense. That's not good enough. That's the other thing that really stands out here to me. That's like, they kept you in the game. The other side was the one that was supposed to win the game for you yesterday.
Not only that, it was the offense was playing kind of how I was hoping the defense would play. The offense wasn't perfect yesterday either. They had major penalty problems again. That's something that's been popping up now for the first month of the year. But it was so funny that they even had, 2 or 3 drives in the red zone that ended up having to be field goals, and they still scored 27. Like, I know it's going to be more about the defense today more than anything. The funny part is the offense had the potential to have an even better day.
Yes.
Like, they probably should have scored 35 points if one of those drives happens to be a scoring drive, something like that. So that's actually like what my takeaway was yesterday too. The offense still even had so much more potential, even though they dropped 27 points. And if they clean up those penalties, man, we're talking about a different first month of the season, honestly, if the penalties are cleaned up a little bit. Once again, I'm not blaming them, but I'm just pointing out, because the defense was so bad, it's going to kind of overshadow what the offense could be improved upon. I'm not complaining about that. I know they can be better, but it's just, that's what sucks about it is I was hoping the defense would have a day like that where, hey, is everything going to go perfect? No, but if you can get enough stops, you could get out of there with the win. And they weren't even just good enough to
well, the crazy part is they really only needed a couple of stops. Like they weren't asking really for much. Yep. Like the way the offense played. The one that really got me too, yes, I kept thinking about that this morning. They overcame a 1st and 30 with that and scored points on that drive. They overcame a 1st and 30 on their side of the field and scored points off of that drive. I listen, if you thought that they were going to be perfect yesterday, I think you were going in with the wrong idea. I didn't love the setup here. Atlanta really had to win. Atlanta got embarrassed last week. Atlanta's got really, really, really high-end skill position players, specifically a running back. And I think that quarterback is better than what he's been in the first couple of weeks of the season. And we're a really beat-up team. We're the injured team that's missing a lot of people. And their defense, while young and inexperienced, has had a really nice start to the season. And it's kind of kept them in a bunch of games. The whole setup, the fact that Washington lost yesterday didn't totally surprise me. Again, it's about how they lost the game. And it's about every game this year has been hard to predict with them. I never would have pictured 27 points out of the offense yesterday. I was hoping we'd win 17-13 or something like that, but the defense did not come through. And that's why, you have to lean on certain sides at certain points, and they've needed to lean on them. And in the Green Bay game and in the Atlanta game, the defense did not come through for them. And that's going to have to change. I will say this for them again. The run game stood out again. They had 3 players average over 6 yards a carry yesterday. 3. Three different players did it. Mariota's one, and he only scrambled a couple of times. And one of them was that huge third down run on the 1st and 30 drive where he got it with his legs. So that stuff happens, but still, two running backs over 6 yards a carry, team total over 6 yards a carry, 150 plus again on the ground against a team that had to know, how are they throwing the ball? Like, I mean, seriously, how are they throwing the ball? So the run game, again, you just golf clap to Cliff and the group and the offensive line and the running game, because that's really, really rolling right now, which would say to me, if they can figure out how to be more effective on defense, we'll start getting better results.
No, I think that's exactly right. And with the way that the offense played yesterday, like I said, with that depleted roster, essentially, I don't think you could have asked much more of them. Yet they could have, been better, as I said. And yeah, I'm more concerned about the defense now, because I just think we're getting to the territory. We've been here before. You've watched enough football where there are so many things wrong with it, at least in that cornerback room. I don't know how you fix that this season. And that's where I'm getting concerned at this point, because it's not just Lattimore. I know Mikey had a pick yesterday. Mikey, we talked about him, has not been great through the first month of the season. Amos has his growing pains. I think overall he's actually been positive, but at the same time, you can't be the only cornerback in the room. That's where I'm concerned right now.
I think he's been good, actually.
Yeah.
I think he's been everything I thought he would be. I have no issues with him.
And so, but like for the two that you're supposed to be relying upon, it's not going well. And I don't know how you fix that. And the defensive line, like I said, is doing very, very well, except they're not, good enough with the way that the corners are playing. It's just concerning, because you know what this league is. It's a passing league at the end of the day, and you're weak at the one position that, is, backbreaking your defense along the way.
Yeah. The Bijan, I mean, that was an incredible swing pass to Bijan. It was just a mismatch, and then he was off to the races. And it really bothered me. Jeremy Reeves sprinted 50 yards to save a touchdown on that play, and Atlanta scored on the next play anyway.
Yeah.
It was one of those where it's like, this is the play where somebody does something like this, where now you need to stand up and deliver and hold them to a field goal. And I think it could have changed the fortunes of the game. Next play, walk-in touchdown. That I didn't like, because I've seen this a million times. A guy makes a hustle play like that, game-saving play, touchdown-saving play. It's the second half, and they don't reward him for it. For next plays, a touchdown. That wasn't great to see that happen. They've got to do something with the matchups with running backs out of the backfield and tight ends. It continues to haunt them. So I don't know what that answer is. Maybe Tyler Owens needs to play more, but that's become a mismatch. It's going to continue to be a mismatch for them. This weekend, I don't picture Omarion Hampton swinging out of the backfield a lot, but maybe they're going to watch film and think about that. You don't really think about their tight ends being dangerous. So maybe this week's a little bit different than the one that they had up in Green Bay, or obviously the one that they had yesterday. But this is on film now. And so this is a big problem too. And they're going to have to figure out a way to do that. And I'll ask this question again. In the offseason, we talked about this a lot. I said at some point, while Jaden has a rookie contract, they're going to have to make a choice here. Do they kind of go all in on their defense, or do they kind of go all in on their offense? And I think that they chose their position this winter by going to get Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil. And, they drafted Bill, and they drafted Lane, and they drafted a tackle. And so they're trying to kind of push the chips in there, and they're trying to fill in where they need to fill in, mainly with veterans on the defensive side of the ball. And the majority of those deals are actually team friendly type, not huge money deals. So I'll ask this again, because of the injury situation. Do they need to go acquire a wide receiver? Because if this is going to hinge on the offense turning a corner and becoming juggernaut-ish, and considering what's happened under Mariota for the last couple of weeks, I will buy that they will be an offense that's going to be a top 5 scoring team. If they're able to do what they did the last couple of weeks, missing as many people as they're missing, and without their star quarterback, well, what can they do when they start getting people back? I don't know. We're going to find out. But when is Terry coming back? I don't know. When is Noah Brown coming back? I don't know. How healthy can Noah Brown be for the whole year? I don't know. There's a part of me that goes, I don't want to give up any more assets. They've already done that. But if you're going to go all in, it does scream that they got to think about it over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think this is going to be purely market, dictating. whose teams do go sideways here and start to sell off some parts, and is there a matchup there? I think they'd like a wide receiver. I don't think they're just overpaying for just about anybody, though, is what I would get at here. Peters is not just going to make a trade to make a trade. It depends who starts throwing, wide receivers up on the trade market. I say to answer your question, I think the answer is yes. But I also have to point to what happened yesterday with the defense. Do you still want to keep giving up assets when your roster is still such in flux right now with all of the pieces that you think you kind of need right now? Once again, you and I have been talking about this for almost 2 years now. I do not envy Adam Peters and what he inherited here, because he's still trying to kind of clean up the mess from the last regime. I know it's not an excuse, but it's becoming apparent that there's not even starters at some positions, and that the depth is even worse in some positions. They can only go after so much each offseason. Do you really want to compromise that? I don't know the right answer to that, but that's what I'll counter that one.
Yeah, this is a tough spot. Like, Jaden is so ahead of the curve last year. I get why they were like, you know what? Let's try to win right now. And at the same time, there are a lot of holes. They're trying to fill them with veterans on 1-year deals. There's going to be turnover again next year because of all these deals. Now they've given up some of their assets to make sure this happens. That's why I'm saying, like, you've already kind of made your choice here. I guess it's going to depend what happens the next few weeks if you feel like you need to do something else. The Eagles are in the all-time primary position. They have a Super Bowl roster and a bazillion draft picks that are burning holes in their pockets. So they can take shots on John Mechie and Jahan Dotson. And if one of them hits, oh, great. It's better than some 4th-round draft pick or whatever that we had. And, maybe they can help us. We're not there yet. We're trying to kind of piece it all together to try to keep up with those guys, which apparently is going to be very hard to do. So we'll get into the rest of the NFL in a second. Very much the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA, like 24/7 roadside assistance, plus 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop, chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive MVP events, and unforgettable experiences. If you're already a AAA member, add the Commanders MVP upgrade free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to join the squad and put your fandom in drive. All right, welcome back. Let's go through week 4, or what we know so far. 2 Monday night games tonight. We've got Pittsburgh surviving Minnesota in Old Dublin in a game where I think if they lost, Mike Tomlin would be on the hot seat big time today. Aaron Rodgers and the offense talked them into going up 10, talked them into going for a 4th and goal at the 4, not at the 1, at the 4. They ran a run play, and it failed. Minnesota gets a coverage breakdown. Suddenly, it's a 3-point game. And then Pittsburgh was trying everything possible to make poor decision after poor decision to lose. And they were very, very fortunate to get out of there with a win. They tried to gift that to Minnesota yesterday.
This one, once again, is indicative of just how good of a coach KOC is. Like, I can't believe he's doing what he's doing with Wentz, that the way that offense is moving that well with him. So, yeah, Pittsburgh pulls one out of the fire, but call me impressed again by the Vikings and just how good they are with no matter who steps in at quarterback there. It's actually astounding how many quarterbacks KOC has just been like, go out there and they end up performing. And I know a lot of it was because the Steelers shot themselves in the foot a little bit, but color me impressed by Minnesota, though. I can't believe they're as good as they are with their backups.
They're lucky that they won yesterday. First off, Tomlin, you're the coach. Rodgers is the quarterback. You wanted the points. I know it didn't make it more than a 2-score game, but that got real dicey at the end of the game there by not adding that extra field goal, which would have forced Minnesota to score 2 touchdowns, not kick. That's why it got so dicey at the end of the game. So Tomlin, he got lucky. He got really lucky yesterday. This one was a little bit closer than I guess I thought it was going to be, but the Bills did end up running away from the Saints. Saints it now at 0-4, streaking towards what might be the number 1 pick. They need a quarterback. It's going to be a couple primary candidates that may or may not be available. Not a surprise. Everyone kind of thought they might be the worst team in the league or among them. And the Bills get to 4-0. winning a home game. So I don't know. There's really much commentary there other than I guess the game was a little bit closer than I think people thought it was going to be, but they still won by double digits.
Yeah, there's just kind of this joke with the Bills that they do play down to their competition a little bit. This was apparent that they do. I think it was tied 19-19 in the third quarter at one point, and then they did pull away. The good teams do pull away, though. Like we even saw the Ravens struggle with the Browns a couple weeks ago and eventually pulled away. I'm not too concerned about it. I will say a home game, like that's a little bit concerning, but at the end of the day, win's a win, and they end up, making it not close.
I think the Lions were a curiosity. They have an incredible roster, but they lost both coordinators. So it was really going to be hard to tell what was going on here. The last 3 weeks now, they look like the Lions, where they have these periods of time where they hit these explosive plays on you, and then the game gets out of hand. This is exactly what I thought would happen. Cleveland's got a pretty good defense. Cleveland just cannot score quickly enough or enough, to keep up with a team like this. So it's 2 weeks in a row this happened to them, or 2 out of 3 weeks. The Ravens did it to them, and now the Lions did it to them. There's just too many firepower plays. They just the Browns can't keep up with something like that, so I'm not surprised the score ended up getting out of hand.
Well, what I'm actually most impressed about this was a short week for Detroit, and they end up blowing them out. And I think that's impressive just looking at what the Browns have been to start the season. And so what I'll say is I'll give Detroit props there that they looked like a well-oiled machine even after a tough game in Baltimore. We know that game, isn't for the weak, and they end up turning around getting a blowout. That's a really good win for Detroit, I feel like.
The Panthers shut out Atlanta, go up to New England, and get destroyed. Who are they? What are you guys? That doesn't even make any sense. They were getting run in Arizona at a late comeback because Bryce Young threw 100 passes in a game and got them back late, and they lost. Then they go home and shut out Atlanta and then turn around and do this. I don't like that. You are not to be trusted ever. If this is what it is week to week with you, you're not to be trusted.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to bet on the team that was going to make the jump, it was going to be the Patriots, but I didn't think it was going to be like that against them. The Panthers are still not a serious franchise. That's my takeaway at this point. You cannot be that inconsistent at this point and expect to have any kind of semblance of building something. So Panthers fans, good luck. The ride, to the bottom is still there for you. Have fun with that, because I don't see any end in sight for that team or that franchise right now.
I've done this too long. I know the car wreck games when I see them coming. Those are my favorites. The ones where the team that's going to be feeling the pressure has to get it done, but they're playing a team they should beat. It's just total car wreck game, and you're waiting for the accident to go off the cliff. The trap games are getting more and more and more in my wheelhouse too. I can smell them from a mile away. And you talked me out of doing it. I said on Friday, I go, you know what? West Coast team, 1:00 start. Nobody thinks they're gonna lose. That never happens. It's the guy's debut. Jackson Dart makes his debut. You don't know what you're gonna get. Why not? I'll just take the Giants and you were like, don't do it. You kept going, don't do it. I go, I don't know, man. I've seen this stuff way too many times. And you talked me out of it. And I said, fine, I'll take the Chargers. Stupid. So stupid. I knew it. I'm like, the crowd's going to be into it. He's going to give him energy. It's going to be close. There's no way it's not going to be close. The Chargers play the thing too close to the vest for the talent and quarterback that they have. They should have been trying to light that team up. I don't know what they were thinking. And so you got me. You talked me out of it. You won't do it again this year.
Don't forget, though, that my caveat was that Daboll was going to make a stupid decision to lose them that game. It ended up not happening, but did you see the spin zone stuff that was happening after the game yesterday? I think I saw Diana Rossini say it. I saw a couple other reporters. Did you happen to see what Daboll was spinning yesterday?
No.
Daboll wanted it to be known that the starting of Jackson Dart was not ownership, was not Shane. It was him specifically. Literally after the game, he's trying to take credit of, it was me. And I want to remind everyone that it was me. That was happening through reports. I'm just here to say, dude, it's New York. You know how this goes. This goes sideways after a few games. They're going to be calling for his head still. But I thought that was interesting. After one game, he wanted to raise his hand to go, it was me, guys. It was me. Found that interesting, but good win for the Giants. I'm not trying to take that away from them.
It's one of two things. He's trying to get everybody to say he wasn't forced to do something, or
Correct.
he's trying to pick a side, me or Shane, and they're both going down with the ship. They're either staying or going together. That's package deal, guys. That's not. You could try to put your stake in the ground, and now that they lost Neighbors, which is awful for them, awful.
Right.
I don't know how they're going to overcome that. I don't Jackson Dart, no Jackson Dart. Like, I don't know how they're overcome it. But you know how this goes. Like, everyone tries to stake their position in the decisions that are coming. And I think in that one, if they do end up with a really bad record, there's just no chance that either one of them gets picked over the other. They're both going down with the ship.
Yeah,
so.
I know how this works too. Like, you just got a really, really good win, and then you had to kind of make it about yourself. That's a little bit crazy to me. So, that's my takeaway from their win yesterday too.
Eagles have been in some wild games the last couple of weeks. They were way down against the Rams, came back and won, and had one of the many bazillion crazy special teams plays that have happened this year. And in this one, they were running away from Tampa Bay and had to swat off a comeback from the Buccaneers. So they're 4-0. They are who we thought they were. If you want to crown them, crown them. They've lost one game in the regular season since October of last year. That was to us, and it took to the last play of the game to knock them off. So, you know what? Full respect. I got nothing but praise for you guys. I know Tampa Bay was really beat up, so you kind of caught them a little bit at the right time, but you played them on their field. You've had a hard time playing them on their field, and you won, and you're 4-0. You just beat the Rams. You just beat the Chiefs. You just beat the Buccaneers. I have nothing to say to you all until you start playing differently, because until you stop looking like the best team in the NFC, I will continue to call you that.
No, I mean, this is a great win for them doing it on the road. I will say this, though. I've been saying it for 2 weeks. When is their team blow up going to happen? Because they're due for one. And AJ Brown started it yesterday on Twitter. I don't know if you saw his tweet after the game. Did you happen to see that? Or did you?
No.
Okay. He's starting already. It was basically some quote from somewhere just saying, like, if you can't be communicated to, like, just like put your head down, go to work, one of those types of things. And everybo's like, oh, here
they're 4-0.
4-0.
And they beat 3 straight playoff teams, 2 of them on the road.
And this was within an hour of the game ending too. This wasn't like some late night thing. They had to be on the plane by the time this tweet came out. So once again, I'm not even saying this is a bad thing for the Eagles. They're just due to have one of these. You and I have talked about it. They have these weird moments where, like, Sirianni has to, like, calm them down, and they still won a Super Bowl last year doing it anyways, but it has started with AJ Brown. So be on the lookout for whatever that temper tantrum is as well.
Cam Ward says the Titans are ass.
He's right.
He's right. Not wrong. 0-4. Shut out by a team that was 0-3, albeit a better team, but still. I said this last week. The Texans had to win that game. I mean, if they're a serious team this year, they had to win that game, and they did. And for Cam Ward and company, I have a feeling that he's going to end up with a new head coach next year. So we'll see what ends up happening there.
You know what my favorite Twitter thing going yesterday was there was some Will Levis revisionist history happening. Did you know that the offense is worse this year than it was last year? And it's like, it's not even close. And so people were going, was Levis covering up for how bad Callahan's offense was? Which I was like, I can't believe we're having that conversation, but man, like, I can't believe they're that bad on offense.
Yeah. You know me, I was kind of like, I think Will Levis gets a second chance somewhere. And I thought Cam Ward coming out, to me, he didn't read to me like someone who I thought Caleb would be kind of ready to go from the jump. I knew Jaden would be ready to go from the jump. I thought Drake May might be too. Like, Nix had played so much. I'm not surprised that he was like kind of ready to go. Cam Ward read to me as a really good prospect who's going to need some time. This is a tough spot to be in. It's not a very good team. He's just thrown in there. He's going to need some time. And so, like, I kind of feel for him a little bit, and he's probably going to end up with a second head coach. That's what probably it's going to head that direction. The Rams do give the Colts their first loss. Matt Stafford threw for over 300 yards. Puka Nacua is on a tear of all tears this season. I think he's on pace. It would break the receiving record, single season receiving record. I don't know if that'll end up happening, but like, he's on a crazy tear. And Indy on the road losing to LA. That's not a surprise to me. I know they've been a great story here in the first month, but Nobody goes 17-0, and that's a playoff team, and I'm not surprised that they beat them.
What I would say on this one too is the Colts, they also like made major mistakes in this game. Had they not done that, I think the result could have been different. Like, I don't know if you saw the clip of the wide receiver that dropped the ball before getting to the end zone. Like those types of mistakes, you know, bit them in the ass essentially. I think for the Colts, there's no such thing as a moral victory, but you go on the road against a contender like that. Pretty good effort. They weren't going to go 17-0 like you said, but I liked what I saw from them yesterday.
Someone said it to me yesterday. They're like 3-1 every month. That's pretty good.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So they're off to the right start. They lost to a playoff team on their home field. That's not a bad thing. They're 3-1. They're in good shape. All right, we'll do the rest of it in a second. Brad watch the show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA like 24/7 roadside assistance plus 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive MVP events, and unforgettable experiences. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP upgrade free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to join the squad and put your fandom in drive. All right, welcome back. Let's go through the rest of week 4. Jaguars get a big road win over what was 3-0 San Francisco. It was really the Niners' mistakes that really was the difference. They had 4 turnovers. The Jaguars have 13 takeaways in 4 games. We have 1. They have 13 takeaways in 4 games. That's pretty amazing. Good road win for them. So now with the Indy loss, Jaguars 3-1 after the first month, feeling pretty good about themselves.
No, this is a big win for them to make that next jump. I thought it was interesting, too. This was the Niners with Purdy. Purdy ends up playing, and they lose a home game. I thought that was actually kind of surprising, especially with how Shanahan can kind of get that crew ready to go, especially getting a home game. Really good win for the Jags. I don't really have much more to say. You know me. I'm a Jags hater, and that was a really good win for them, especially with Purdy going. And then your boy, the Jaguars head coach, getting into it with Saleh a little bit after the game. I don't know if you saw that one, too. That was a little bit of a weird one. I don't know why he was getting all fired up about
I think that guy's a very, very good offensive coordinator. You don't know as a head coach till they get there. I think he's a very good offensive coordinator. So we'll see how that kind of rolls. And obviously that division is wide open, especially with Houston starting the way it did, wide open for any of those teams. Well, not Tennessee anymore, but any of those teams to really make a run. Ravens, what's up? What's up? Like, this team easily could be 3-1, even with that loss yesterday. Kansas City has not looked good here the first few weeks. And you just assume Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, it'll all work itself out. But they got bum rushed. Like, that game wasn't close. They were dominated, both sides of the ball. And that division, because Cleveland and Cincinnati without Burrow is so open for them to, all they got to really do is beat Pittsburgh and they'll probably catch them. So I think they're in a decent position. If Burrow didn't get hurt, they'd be in really, really, really big trouble right now. And I trust that they'll bounce back from this. They've had a very hard schedule with the teams that they've played, but yesterday was ugly for them. Ugly.
I told you this was a matchup of 2 teams that I didn't like, mainly because the Ravens tend to play well for 3 quarters and then it blows up on them. The Chiefs do the opposite. Well, this was apparent yesterday that the Chiefs were just ready to play against them. That's concerning. I think for the first time, you have to have some concerns about Harbaugh. 1, because the way that the team has been playing. 2, his pressers are not going over well with the fans and the media in Baltimore. He just keeps saying like, oh yeah, we've got to clean this up. And everybody's going, you're the head coach. You need to clean this up, essentially.
You do. Yeah.
There's a lot of questions in Baltimore right now. Look, I mean, I don't know how you'd get better by firing him mid-season, but people are already trying to have that conversation. And you had yesterday happen. Lamar got a hamstring injury, towards the second half of that game. That's disaster written all over it. If he can't go all of a sudden, this is more than just a down month for them. This is a really concerning start for the Ravens.
I agree. Bears, Ben gets lucky yesterday, gets a blocked field goal late, and the Bears get out of Vegas, beat the Raiders, who we destroyed a week ago, but they win. It's a road win. They're 2-2 now, so they're feeling pretty good about themselves.
Yeah, a win is a win is a win. I'm more disappointed in Vegas that they have all this talent too, and they just can't get it done. They can't get it done in a home game where they were up on the Bears I would have thought they would have been able to eke this one out, but the Bears get a blocked field goal. And then another special teams gaffe, by the way, that ends a game or, decides a game. This has been 2 or 3 weeks in a row now where we get these types of plays happening. It's kind of ridiculous.
I might do this tomorrow because I don't have time to do it today. But Jerry Jones did an interview on the NBC set yesterday with Micah coming back in what was a crazy game last night. And I still don't understand what happened because he can't really explain it. And nobody can really explain it. It was such word salad about, I don't even know what it was. It made no sense. He was like, he said something about a Christmas present being a motorcycle. It was really, I don't know what he was talking about. I need to listen to it again because it made no sense. Anyway, and then came it looked like Green Bay was just going to kind of run away from Dallas. And then there was a weird special teams play, a blocked extra point that turned into a 2-point play. And then everything went haywire and neither team knew how to play defense anymore. And it ends up in a 40-40 tie, which in the end, Green Bay is going to look back on this one. These 2 weeks, they're going to look back on this. It's going to be the reason why they didn't win their division. That's what it is. A tie in Dallas with Dallas's defense playing the way it is and the loss in Cleveland, this is the reason why they're not going to win their division.
Before I weigh in on Green Bay, did Jerry not know he was going to be on TV yesterday? Because I mean this in the nicest way. He looked really rough, cuts on his face, it was odd. Yeah. I just the
first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
I was just concerned as a human being, whoa, he looks really rough on this TV shot. I don't think he knew he was going to be on TV or something, but I'll leave it at that because he is an old man and I'm not trying to go too hard at him on that. As far as we went for the game yesterday, Green Bay's lucky it was a tie. Jordan Love almost blew that game on the last play of the game last night too. They gave him a fast whistle on that incomplete pass to finish the game. They almost lost the game with those last 8 seconds left on the clock. I'm with you. Green Bay, they have the roster. They have the feeling that they should win the Super Bowl, but they're not in these good winning time type moments right now. There's plenty of season left for them, but I'm with you. If they don't win the division, you're going to point to this 2-week stretch right now.
There's another one I should just probably get to tomorrow because I did not leave myself enough time to do proper due to this. But Bob Carpenter's last game yesterday occurred. So maybe I want to spend more time than 20 seconds on it. And so I'll just do this tomorrow. But just because was his last game yesterday, congratulations on an unbelievable run with our Nationals and an unbelievable career. He was with the Cardinals for years and years before he ever got to the Nationals. And he called soccer for years and years, eons ago. He's someone that I've watched and admired for a very long time. And he's a really genuinely nice person too, which was great. So I just want to wish Bob congratulations on the end of an incredible run in the booth, especially here in DC. You're going to be missed here.
No, an iconic voice here, especially with all of the years that he's called the Nats games. And as you said, more importantly, one of the nicest human beings, bar none, period, has never been anything but one of the nicest humans whenever I've gotten to talk to him. So good career for Bob, and I hope he enjoys retirement.
Yeah, remind me. I'm gonna spend a little more time because I want to give him a proper goodbye tomorrow. Yep. He's been someone I've watched for a long time, and I feel very fortunate to do a very similar job than him. So there's a lot about what he's done that I've admired through the years. All right, everybody, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bram watch the show. He's at 6:30, the Sports Capital.